What's going on, fellas? Lost and Found dating channel. Back at it again this week with another dating topic. And before we get into this week's video, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. That way you guys will be the very first to know when I come out with new content. I hope you guys are enjoying all the videos and all the content thus far. Thank you for everyone who has subscribed. Thank you guys for all the likes, all the comments, and the constant support. Now let's get into this week's video. All right, fellas, so for this week's video, we're gonna be talking about how to read the signs and the body language and the different cues that a woman is giving off during the initial approach, right? So this is when you first approach a woman whom you don't know prior to this conversation. What are the signs and the body language and the cues that you want to look for to indicate that she wants you to talk to her, that she's enjoying the conversation, that she's looking to possibly exchange numbers or exchange contact information towards the end of the conversation? What are some things that you want to look for? Now, as you guys are going out, getting out of your comfort zone, introducing yourself to women, going up to women, starting conversations, and just putting yourself out there, I want to make sure that as you're doing that, you're properly reading the signals and the cues that the woman is giving off. Now, some of those signals are going to be verbal cues, things that she's saying or her tone, how she says something, and some of them are going to be non-verbal cues. So they're going to be about her body language, how she positions her body in response to yours, the distance between the two of you, her facial expressions, all those different things that she may not necessarily be saying with her mouth, but that she's communicating with her body. Now, sometimes when you're conversing with a woman and you approached her to start a conversation, if you're not being observant and if you're not paying attention to those cues, what you may end up doing is just out of pure confidence, assuming that she's enjoying the conversation or assuming that she wants to get to know you more and exchange information with you. So it's very important that you are observant and that you're perceptive. That way you're not making assumptions about where that conversation is going to go afterward. So let's get into it. So let's say you meet a woman, maybe this is a variety of different places where you can meet women: the gym, supermarket, grocery store, maybe you meet her at a club or a lounge, library, school, a variety of different places. For the example of this video, let's just suppose that you met her maybe at a bar or a club or some sort of lounge. So that's the scenario that we're gonna go through with this video. One thing that I tend to see a lot when I go out and I see men approaching women at a bar, or a club, or a lounge is they're maybe unintentionally or maybe intentionally, but they're a little bit over aggressive and overbearing with the distance. So sometimes I'll see guys put their face a little bit close to the woman's face or have his body a little bit close to hers. And you can tell when she doesn't want that or when she doesn't want you to be that close. Because even I've seen this from the other side of the room from several feet away, where you'll see the woman kind of move her face, away from his, or kind of move her body away from his, or sort of make sure that she can put herself at a distance, from him. So that's definitely something that you want to look for. I see a lot of guys make this mistake where you could be someone who she's interested in talking with and having a conversation with, but just in your initial approach, you got a little bit too close and you made things uncomfortable. Whereas if you kept kind of a more comfortable distance, you could have allowed that conversation to progress and for her to kind of feel you out and see if she's interested in talking with you. So that's something that I want you guys to keep in mind and be mindful of is just distancing. That's not really a cue that you have to look for, because whether she's interested or not, even before you even speak, if you're a little bit too close, that is something that could potentially turn her off from wanting to talk and from wanting to converse with you. Now, as far as a verbal cue that you want to look for, let's say you didn't come too close and you had kind of a respectful distance. Let's say you started a conversation and you're talking with her and you're asking her questions. If she's starting to give one or two word answers, and this is multiple times, or you're conversing with her and you feel like you constantly have to re-engage, right? So what that may look like is you ask her a question and she says yes or no, or gives you a one or two word answer, and then faces the other direction, or where she's maybe kind of looking over her shoulder and looking over here to answer, and then immediately after she answers, she looks away from you and looks in the opposite direction. I see a lot of guys who they're getting these one or two word answers, and you can almost see it on her face that she's like painstakingly answering your questions and trying to respond to you. I see a lot of guys continuing to try and re-engage and to continue to keep the conversation going. If you're getting those kinds of responses, chances are that she's just not interested in conversing with you. And if she's not interested in talking with you, she's not going to be interested in getting to know you or exchanging numbers. So that's one distinction that you guys have to make when you approach a woman is, does she come off as engaged? Does she look like she's inviting me to continue talking with her? Or does she look like she's counting down the seconds, waiting for me to walk away, or waiting for an opportunity for her to be able to escape and walk away from you? Now, let's say you continue to try and re-engage and continue to try and converse with her, and she's giving you these one or two word answers, and you're not really picking up on those signals. What will happen sometimes is you make the decision or come to the conclusion that the longer you two continue to be in each other's space, or the more that you're kind of talking at her, even though she's not really engaged in the conversation, the longer that you stand there and talk, you see that as the more interested she is in you. So maybe several minutes go by and you're like, look, I've been standing here talking with her for 5-10 minutes. She hasn't walked away. She hasn't asked me to walk away. She must like me. She must be interested in me. So now I'm going to ask her for her number. Keep in mind, guys, that some women, even if they aren't interested in you, are going to end up giving you their number. And here's why. It's more of a wanting to avoid the awkwardness of rejecting you or of telling you that they're not interested. Or maybe they want to avoid what's even worse than the awkwardness and the sort of discomfort from that is just avoiding the likelihood of any confrontation of some sorts, or you getting upset or verbally insulting her because she said she's not really interested, or because she declined to give you her number. Some women, just to avoid that, and they don't want to deal with that, they'll just give you their number, or they'll just give you their social media information. For you, you might see that as positive reinforcement. Okay, she gave me her number, she must like me. But for them, it's more of a, okay, I don't want to get into any awkwardness. I don't want this guy to insult me, or worst comes to worst, threaten me in any way because I'm not interested in him or because I said no. So just to avoid that, I'm gonna give him my number or give him my Instagram or my Snapchat username. Then you get her number or her social media information and you leave, and let's say you text her or you message her on your way home, or you message her the next day thinking, hey, she gave me her contact information. That must mean that she wants us to continue talking, when in reality, she just did that because she wanted to avoid having to reject you. And now you may get discouraged and start thinking, well, she's giving me mixed signals. Why did she give me her contact information if she didn't want me to reach out to her? When it could have been that she just didn't want to have to reject you face to face, so she's rejecting you in the form of not responding to your text or not responding to your message. And guys, I want you to understand that I don't put that in the category of mixed signals. You know, in that sort of situation, based on how I described it, if you are exhibiting that kind of behavior, I think it's more of you just over pursuing and being a little bit overbearing, not her trying to send you mixed signals or make you think that she's interested and then uninterested. It's more of your actions and how they contributed to that result. Now, another cue that you want to look at is her body language, right? So it may not necessarily be something that she's saying, but what is her body doing? What is she doing as far as making herself available to you physically? I don't mean physically as far as intimately, but physically as far as the space that the two of you are occupying, right? If she's interested in talking to you, think about when you're interested in talking with someone and you're having a conversation with them. More than likely you're facing them, or if you're not facing them, you're at least adjacent to them and you're able to make eye contact with them. They're able to see you, you're able to see them. If you're conversing with her and she's, you know, talking to you over her shoulder, or she's sort of turned away from you, that's communicating something, right? If she was more inviting to conversing with you and to having a conversation, she's going to more than likely face you or face adjacent to you, or give you kind of access to her facing you and the two of you facing each other, you know, having eye contact with each other. But if you see that her body language is suggesting otherwise, that may be communicating something about her interest and her willingness to engage in the conversation with you. Another thing to look for is she doing things to distract herself from talking with you or to deter you from talking with her and trying to continue the conversation. So she may, you know, have her purse and after she responds to you, she looks back and she's, you know, fiddling through her purse. Or you see women sometimes, I see this a lot, they'll pull out their phone, you know, to make it look like they're texting or they're on social media. When someone pulls out their phone in the midst of a conversation, it's not inviting and it's not causing you to want to engage. The idea is, hey, maybe he sees that I'm busy or that I'm doing something and he just kind of walks off. That's something that she may do is just kind of self-distract and use her phone or her pocketbook or her wallet to kind of deter you from talking with her. Women also will do things to try, if they're in the presence of their friends, will also do things to try to get their friend or some of their friends to come over to them if you're talking to them and they don't want to talk to you, right? And it's funny, you'll see this, they have like, you know, distress signals or things that they'll do, like they might talk to you and then face one of their friends and be like, you know, or do all this stuff. I hope you guys can see that on the camera. Do some of this or do all this stuff, right? They're trying to secretly, without you seeing, call over one of their friends so they can talk with each other in hopes that maybe you'll just kind of lose interest and drift off, or maybe even like stand around her to create kind of a barrier so that you can't talk to her. So that may not be something that you see. You're not necessarily going to see her gestures, but if you're talking with a woman and it's just the two of you and then all of a sudden you see one or several of her friends come around, there's a pretty good chance that she invited them to come do that and to kind of interrupt the conversation. You know, if a woman just wants to have alone time and have a private conversation with a guy, she's not going to invite her friends to be a part of that conversation or to come into her space. So she might call her friends to come stand near her, or, you know, her friends will come over and they'll say, you know, out loud, hey, why don't we go to the bar? Or hey, how about we go to the bathroom? Or hey, let's stand near the DJ booth. They'll say it loud so that you can kind of hear and you get the message, hey, you know, we're coming to rescue her and we're taking her somewhere else. Stop trying to talk to her, leave her alone. You know, if you see that, guys, and you see her walk away, that doesn't mean that you should follow after her and continue to try and engage the conversation. Trust me, if she wanted to be there in your vicinity and talk with you, she's gonna have her friends stay where they are. She's gonna at least try to have some alone time with you so that you guys can have that privacy. But if her friends start to come over and she starts to walk away, chances are that she doesn't want to have that conversation with you. All right, fellas, so we talked about body language, we talked about things like eye contact, we talked about just how brief or long her responses are when she answers a question or responds to you. Another thing that you can look for is the kind of laugh that you get. You know, as guys, sometimes we use humor when we try to approach a woman, and we'll try to say something funny and try to make her laugh. You can tell the difference between a genuine laugh versus a laugh that's trying to appease you. And even if you said something corny, if she's interested in you and she wants a conversation to keep going, she will try her best to at least make it sound like a genuine laugh. But you can make the distinction between the two of them. If she says something, if you say something and she responds like, but that's a laugh that's trying to appease you, that's kind of trying to make you feel good. If you say something and she's like, ha, see, I can't even do a real laugh because I'm trying to fake laugh. But you guys know, if I did something hilarious and just started grabbing the lights and throwing them around the room and did something funny, I'd start laughing. There you go, perfect example. I'd start laughing because it's funny. Whereas if I was just trying to do a fake laugh or trying to show you what a laugh looks like, it's a lot harder for me to do. So same thing, when you guys are watching her, look for like the fake, like very breathy, like one of those kinds of laugh versus like what you just saw, a genuine laugh where she's, you know, reinforcing your behavior and she probably wants you to continue talking to her. So look for the genuine laugh when you're picking up those signals. All right, guys, so those are some of the signals that you have to observe and that you have to pick up on when you approach a woman and when you start a conversation with her. Maybe I'll do a part 2 of this video as I start to think of some others, but those were some of the ones that I kind of outlined and that came to mind. And you have to do your best as a guy to see the situation for what it is and not start to project your level of interest in her to determine, oh, you know, she's just as interested in me. I'm hoping you guys got some value from this video and took a lot away from it. And I do want to say, you know, I have a lot of respect and appreciation, and I definitely commend the guys out there who are just getting out of their comfort zone and approaching women and conversing with women, obviously the right way. You know, that's the important thing. But I know that it's not always easy to do it, and sometimes you're nervous or you're anxious about it. And so I definitely want to say that I have a lot of respect for those guys that are going out there and doing it, and I commend you guys. But like I said, just make sure that you're not projecting your level of interest and projecting that onto her and assuming that she's just as interested in you. I know sometimes we as guys, we can be very confident or maybe we're not even confident, but we just want to come off as confident, and we sort of want to see the interaction for how we want to see it as opposed to not how it is. And sometimes we as guys, if you give us an inch, you know, we take a mile. If she stands there for 10 seconds and she says one word to us, oh, we think, oh, she was feeling me, dog. She was all over me. You know, I know she wanted my number. I just knew it, man. Did you see the way that she said her name? Did you see the way she said Janelle when I asked her what her name was? Dude, I could see in her eyes, she was head over heels. She was in love. You know, sometimes we get a little bit and we go overboard and we start to think that she has this high level of interest in us. I would encourage you guys, for some of you who see yourself doing that, be a little bit more conservative, right? Try to not overestimate, be a little bit more conservative as far as how much you're reading into what she's doing and the high interest indicators that you think that you're seeing from her. With that being said, guys, I want you to stay confident when you are approaching a woman. I want you to have confidence. I want you to be sure of yourself, but just keep some of those things in mind. You can be confident, but also be conscious of the interaction and see the interaction for what it is. So I hope you guys got some great value from this video. Remember, it's not just about what she's saying, but also look at her body language and what her body is communicating as well when you're approaching a woman. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you like. I'd love to see the comments on this one. Feel free to share some funny stories when you've approached a woman where she just totally shut you down, or you started to see indicators that she wasn't interested. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and see you guys during the next video. Peace.